here today with Steve Preston. Steve is a wonderful friend of mine, and Steve is the president and CEO of Goodwill Industries International. So welcome, Steve, to Plated Perspectives.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I'm looking forward to it.
This is going to be a fun day.
Yeah.
So I want to know, with all of the things that you have done, from leading the Small Business Administration to now Goodwill Industries, how in the world do you make room for other people to come to the conversation, and what does that look like? What does all of that look like just to bring in collaboration and bring people into the mission?
You know, this was really an important learning I had sort of mid-career. I used, many years ago, I was a CFO. CFO, you have a tight team. Everybody kind of speaks the same language. And your mandate might be fairly broad, but the issues kind of everybody gets. I think as I moved into bigger leadership roles and began running companies and federal agencies and now this organization, I began to understand how much I didn't know, number one. And then the other thing I learned, especially in going through large change or dealing with crises or bigger issues like that, how much wisdom there was throughout the organization. I always used to say 90% of the best ideas are within the four walls of your organization. How much I needed to learn, but then also to drive change, how much people needed to engage with each other. Because one of the most important things for organizational effectiveness is this sort of having an organization that naturally collaborates, naturally connects, and when it doesn't, things either break or you get some other substandard outcome. And I think the other part of that is there's just something really great about being in the mix with people and connecting with them and engaging, and everybody walks away better. So at a point in my career when my responsibilities covered a much broader spectrum of issues, I began to not only see the necessity, but just the richness and the value.
You know, that's really amazing. And what I'm really picking up is how the different mindsets and the expertise of individuals really impacted how you lead.
Oh, absolutely.
So my next question is, what does it look like and feel like? Because you've been on both sides. So what does it feel like when you're brought into a situation? Because I know a little bit about your history, and you didn't really think you were prepared, for your previous role to feel seen, to feel heard, and then being brought into the room. And then what does it look like and feel like to make that happen for other people?
Yeah, so I think when you are at a point in your career or in an organization, whatever, where you are brought in the room the right way, you pretty quickly can get over your inhibitions or your concerns about how you look in the room or what you sound like. You can sort of shed all that stuff and come to the table with an atmosphere of just sharing and both sides being interested in what the other one has to say for a common purpose, right? I think when you're invited in, it's kind of an unlock. Because you sort of, the things that would otherwise inhibit you, which are really secondary and not very healthy, sort of dissipate, and all of a sudden you bring what you have at the table. On the other side, when you're inviting somebody in, it's interesting because I pretty quickly try to read where the person is. And if I see that person is inhibited or uncomfortable, I'll be more likely to actually directly ask them questions, or how did you think about that? And really begin to do that. It is amazing to me how many people are inhibited about opening up in a meeting to share their perspectives, who have really incredible perspectives to share, right? How often a single voice in the room can bring something that the rest of the room doesn't know or understand. So for me, I go in those places, inviting people into the room, really kind of wanting to hear from people. Like, I really want to know what they have to say. And I also increasingly want to create a space that feels healthy for people to participate.
And I a victim of that, I think, myself. Coming up, even though you wouldn't know it today, but I tend to be a bit of an introvert. And coming up, I was a quiet child. So I was a cheerleader. I grew up as a cheerleader. I was a cheerleader from the time I was 5 years old all the way up through high school.
Oh, I would have liked to have seen that.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
bet you've got some good pictures.
Yes, I do. I
5-year-old.
do.
That's
But
sweet.
the thing about it is, when I put the uniform on, it was like my superpower.
Right.
When I took the uniform off,
That
I was
interests-
quiet and demure again.
Yeah.
And so I think for a lot of people, that might be also what they're struggling with. It's like when they have a persona that they can kind of melt into, and then it's like, okay, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. And they come out and they shine. And then when they take that persona down or they go home, it's like, ugh, okay,
You also
I'm
have
done.
license,
Yes.
right? You put on your cheerleading uniform and you have license because that's your role. Everybody knows it. For me, if I go into a Goodwill event, everybody knows I'm the CEO.
Right.
I go into that event or that space kind of with my head in the game, and I have a mandate. If I go into a reception where I don't know anybody and I'm supposed to kind of work the room, it's an entirely different feeling because you don't have that sense of agency or license or expectation, and there's something about that really is freeing.
Yeah. So what advice? I talk to a lot of people who have roles that in which they have to go into the room, a blank room, shake hands, they don't know anybody, and they're like, I'm really not an extrovert. What advice would you give them?
Yeah, well, I have 5 introverted children, so I see that in action all the time. The first thing I would say is get out of yourself and get into the room, right? First of all, if there are voices in your head that are discomforting, that are sort of driving fear, that are sowing doubt, because I think sometimes, when you walk into places, you can get a little bit of that imposter syndrome. Put those to the side. Unhealthy, not relevant, and they're actually really negative. Understand that you have something to give that people care about and that people need to hear. And then I would also say, begin engaging in a way that's comfortable for you, right? Sometimes you'll see people kind of come in and it's all pent up and then blurt the big thing out there and everybody's sort of like, what just happened, Yeah. Like get in a comfortable place mentally and engage where it makes sense and begin to do that. We kind of have a story in our head, and that story kind of defines the attitude we bring into the room. And really take a step back, name it, understand it, and change the story. And that's what I would recommend.
And you said something that triggered a thought in my head about storytelling. I think that's a big thing. Probably for the last maybe 10 years, we've seen more and more webinars and workshops, and we've done them here at Goodwill on storytelling and the importance of storytelling. And that's a little bit of what we're doing here today.
Yeah.
Telling stories. And I think in a time when we seem to be so fractured and so disconnected, the art of storytelling helps to bring people into your room, into your world, and you exchange ideas. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Storytelling is powerful. Let me tell you about a situation I was in where it completely changed the culture of an organization, or it was at least a big step. So when I went to the SBA makes loans to homeowners and businesses, but also homeowners who've lost their home in a disaster. It was 10 months after Hurricane Katrina, and almost nobody had gotten their loan. And the agency, the process for making loans had effectively kind of broken down, and there was all sorts of infighting and finger pointing. And I was sort of the new organizational leader, and I just said, something has to change here. And we had the lowest morale of any of the top 31 agencies in the federal government. So I was trying to figure out what would change, what would dramatically change the tone quickly. And I was kicking off a session where we were beginning to re-engineer the whole organization to fix this issue. There was a videographer at the SBA, and I said, I want you just to fly to the Gulf, and I just want you to take videos of people telling their stories, people who are looking to get an SBA loan. And so I had this large convening, and I don't know, probably 30 people, 40 people that were in the leadership. And I said, we've got a lot of work to do here today. You know, we had a lot of learnings and stuff we were going to, you know, data and all sorts of information and processes. And I said, but before we do anything, I want you to listen to stories from the people that we're here to serve. And we heard stories of people's need to get their lives back. And when they got their lives back, what did that mean? There was a woman who ran a daycare center who said, when I was able to open up my daycare center, and she was one of the few people that had gotten her loan, all of a sudden people were able to bring their children here, and they were able to go back to work, which was so critical in New Orleans. And so the lights went on, and the place was just dead quiet. Mm-hmm. And I said, look, everybody gets a free pass on the past. It's been a really hard time for everybody. But from now on, those are the people we're going to talk about when we think about re-engineering this place. Those are the stories we're going to have in our mind. And everything we do has to be focused on that mission. And it completely changed the ethos. It completely changed the type of conversations people were having, and they brought something very different to the table. Mm-hmm. And that was the power of people telling their own stories in a place where people needed to understand them.
I love that. I love that. And you know what's so important is the connection between the storytelling and the impact that it made, and the storytelling that we do at Goodwill.
Oh yeah.
Of people, and allowing them to tell their stories as well. What's the synergy, the connection between, and maybe that's why you even came to Goodwill. You know, it's that need to serve. You know, because you were in government, you know, and so once you get bitten mm-hmm. by that service bug, man, it's all over with.
Yeah. Well, even the companies I ran were all service companies, mm-hmm. right? There were people that went to people's homes and did things for them, or other kinds of things. And so, you know, my whole career, there's usually been somebody at the other end of whatever I was doing. I think we work in these environments that are so focused on the stuff of running the place, and the goals, and the systems, and the people, and all this stuff. And it's really, really easy to disconnect that from the person at the other end. Mm. And when we hear those stories, we see the humanity in what we do. We see the changed lives in what we do. And especially at a time, I mean, I think it's always been like, but especially in a time like this, where as a culture, we're increasingly disconnected. We're disconnected because of differences between us, but we're also increasingly disconnected because of social media and other types of things that kind of have driven us away from, you know, connectedness. And so when you can reconnect with humanity, we see how powerful it is. It's easy to forget that. Mm-hmm. But when we see, you know, I was at an event a couple of weeks ago where there were 2 award winners, and I mean, I was completely destroyed by them telling their stories on the mic, and it was just, oh my goodness, it was just so life-giving and wonderful, and to see who they were today versus who they were before, and how that connected with our work. There's just nothing better. Mm-hmm. There's nothing better. And I think for me, and I think probably for a lot of people, at a time when people want to hope for something good and believe in something good, they see something good that is real, transmitted through that person's story, mm-hmm. coming from them, and talking about what life looks like now.
What life looks like now. So let's get into what we talked about a little bit earlier before we came on air. The impact of AI, mm-hmm. artificial intelligence, and what that means for life today, what that means for work, the good, the bad, the ugly, the in-between, the I don't know, mm-hmm. All of the different roadways that I know that you've seen. Mm-hmm. Everybody, I think, is involved in AI at some level, even a minute level, whether mm-hmm. they know it or not.
Right, yeah. So you're asking me how to think about it, or
How do you think about it, and what does it do to the world of work, really?
Yeah, yeah. Well, there are a couple things. I mean, I think, there's a lot to understand in terms of how it works and what it can do and what it can't do and how to protect yourself and all of that stuff. But there are a couple of other really significant things I think to think about. Number one, we're undergoing the most rapid transformation in work in human history. And that is largely AI driven. That's on top of big demographic trends, aging population, the move toward, even though it feels like we're on pause a little bit, the move toward green industries, different changes in the global economy. So there's so many rapid changes. So for us at Goodwill, our whole mission is to help people who are in very difficult places, who have a hard time finding their way to a better future, to help them actually realize their dreams of a better future. We do that by investing in people, helping them unlock that embedded talent, that embedded potential, and become what's possible, what's always been possible, and then connect that with opportunity on the other side. So with AI does a lot of things there. Number one, it's going to hit low-wage workers much more dramatically than other workers, even though we read about lawyers and accountants. It's like much more dramatically. Those are people who have fewer resources, lower education levels, so it's harder for them to move forward. But at the same time, we have these massive opportunities with significant needs in healthcare, significant needs in the trade, significant needs in clean tech. Building that bridge between the two benefits individuals and it benefits companies who need competitive labor. So what will AI do? Number one, AI skills among individuals will help them compete for jobs in industry that they might not be able to compete for today because AI is an enabler. It's a skill enabler, right? AI can help us evaluate what people need, design a learning pathway, support them in that journey in any number of ways that will significantly amplify what we could do if it's all through individuals doing that. And that allows individuals to free up more time for advisory support, et cetera, et cetera. So there's all of that actually, I think if we do it right, can really supercharge our ability to help people and supercharge their ability to compete for jobs. The other thing I'd say, though, is it's really early days in terms of understanding the impact on us and who we are at our core. How leaning too much on AI can actually begin to, cause our own facilities to atrophy, can diminish our own capabilities. How we can lean on AI in ways that further will lead us to pull back on human connection. I was at a summit last year where, the company was, showing videos of these agents that would talk to people and help them with problems. And some of them were pretty cool, and some of them were actually kind of creepy, because you could see that the tool was advising somebody in a way with apparent full knowledge and leading them to think and to be in ways that were really fraught with risk. Right? So I think there's a lot around AI, and we continue to learn, and there's so many people trying to learn quickly, but it's moving very, very quickly, and it continues to accelerate. So understanding how to harness it for good, how to protect against the second or third level impacts is going to be really important for us.
And how do we make sure, if we can, that people aren't left behind, particularly people with disabilities?
Yeah. I think there are a lot of people working to develop tools that serve humanity. And we need to invest in those. We need to give them opportunities to flourish. We are actually working with a couple of organizations that are developing tools specifically for people in different need populations. So for example, there's an organization out there that's developed a technology so that if you are, somebody who doesn't make a lot of money, and you may qualify for a lot of different forms of assistance, but have no idea what those are, how to get them, you can put your information in there and all sorts of qualifiers, and all of a sudden you will see, if they exist, maybe 3 or 4 places where you can apply for aid, and all of a sudden, you're making another, $600 a month, and you can pay your bills, et cetera, et cetera. There's another technology that's developing that helps people coming out of prison connect with any number of different kinds of support, ability to get your IDs, potentially expungement, and basically, this is the pathway of complexity you have ahead of you. Here are the tools, here are the contacts, here's how to apply for things immediately through the app to help you move your life forward. And so I think there are people who are really dedicated to leveraging AI to help other people. And we don't see those that much, sometimes because they're very targeted, certainly because they don't get a lot of attention in the press. But there are billions of dollars going to support these by a number of foundations, and I'm really excited about it.
That is exciting because I see it as really kind of leveling the playing field.
Absolutely.
And that's what our entire life's work really has been, leveling that playing field so that everybody has a place at the table.
Yeah.
So what does that phrase, a seat at the table, mean to you personally?
For me personally, having a seat at the table means that I have an opportunity, number one, to be at a place where something I really care about is on the table, right? And I'm around that table with a number of people who really care about dealing with the issue. And I have the ability not only to contribute and share my perspective, but I also have the ability to listen and learn from people with different perspectives. And there's also something about being at a table where people care about the same things you care about, especially in our world where the needs are so great, and come with a spirit of collaboration, common care, and in many ways common goals, even if we don't necessarily agree on how best to get there. And there's something really powerful in that. And I think in our world today, too many people don't come to the table with that sort of heart, with that intentionality, with that goal. And if we had more of that, I think we'd be in a fundamentally different place in the country.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Steve, thank you so much for joining me on Plated Perspectives.
Thanks for, giving me a seat at the table.
Exactly, exactly. You're always welcome.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.